Hello and welcome to this video where we'll just improve someone's skin. So what we'll do is take the original image, and of course there's natural imperfections on everybody's skin, and we'll simply try to remove some of them and make it look better. So we'll duplicate this layer here, so just drag it plus, and you've got a layer on top. What we'll use is the spot healing brush, and so it's just right here, and make sure that it's set to content aware and all sample layers, sample all layers, so we'll get the one below. And make sure your brush is a little bit larger than the imperfection, and also it's very important that you have a soft edge on it. If it's a hard edge, then it'll create sort of a ring around the spot where you've tried to improve it. All it is Photoshop looking at the area around it and sort of removing the the offending red pixels that are there. So if I just simply click, it pretty well disappears. And I can just go through and sort of click on the worst offending ones. And generally, it's just as easy as that. Now there's a little bit more difficulty here because he's got less good skin, I guess. And so it tends to need a couple little clicks. But we can kind of get it looking better. Now you have to be a little bit careful. We don't want to make it too artificial. And I don't know if that's a pimple or a freckle, so we'll leave that there. But you can sort of see how it's improving as we go. That. And a little bit more. So it's just a matter of going around and clicking here or there to help improve it. And then we can take a look to see what the original versus what we've done here. Now you can also go in and reduce that opacity just a little bit, and sometimes that it leaves a little bit of the imperfection, but it helps bring back some of the character, and it helps it make it not look too fake. And because really, if you make things too airbrushed, too pretty, then you can definitely see it's Photoshop. If there's a little bit of imperfection there, I think often that's a better thing. We just remove the main offenders, and we end up with something that looks a bit more natural, but it isn't as a slight improvement sort of compared to the original. Okay, so there we go. So I think he definitely does look a little bit better there, and yeah, it's as easy as that. Now, if you're really wanting to improve the skin, smooth it out, there's a few things that we can do as well. So we'll try this out here. This is probably the more advanced technique if you're really serious about improving the quality of the skin. So what we'll do is take this layer and duplicate it. So we basically have this layer. Maybe we should give it a name. We'll call this one the smooth, and then this one, I don't know, blemish, fixed. I'll just call that fixed layer there. Okay, so we're going to work on this smooth layer. And what we're going to do is apply, and there's a little bit of technique here, we're going to apply a high pass filter to this layer. So I'm going to come up to filters, and I think under other, and we're going to do a high pass filter. And so, don't worry, it doesn't look too good, but basically the idea here is we're trying to smooth things out. So probably, let's just take a look here. We're just trying to look somewhere around probably 18, like 10 to 20, somewhere in there. Probably will be okay. So I'm just going to go somewhere, I'll go about 10 there. Okay. So just a little bit of, trial and error here. But what it's going to do, it's turning it mostly gray here. And then there's a little bit of halo on the edges, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is apply a Gaussian blur as well. So blurring it is just going to sort of hide those imperfections. So again, I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, and a Gaussian blur. And in terms of the pixels here, you're going to do about 1/3 of what you set the other one. So I think we had a 10 on that one. So roughly 3. And there it is. So it just looks pretty blurry. Okay, so let's set that to go okay. Don't worry, we still have the original there. Okay, we've just blurred everything out. Okay, so we've lost some of the detail, and that's part of the idea. We're going to change the blending mode of this layer from normal here to linear light. So I've got that there. Oh, it looks even worse. Okay, and it's got a lot of high contrast, sort of over-sharpened appearance. Then we're going to make it even look worse. We're going to invert this. So I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, and we are going to invert it. Right there. Hoo-hoo. But now you can start to see the blur and get the idea of how we're going to sort of smooth out the skin here. Okay, but that's okay. So we're going to go back into this over here to the FX panel, and we're going to choose our blending options. We've seen this one before, and what we're going to do is come to these blend if, and we're going to play around with these a bit. So you've got two things. You've got these sliders, and we can move them around and see how things sort of pop up. So move this over here. So our idea here is to remove the sort of the darker areas and the lighter areas that will come from this. And what we'll do is we'll come over here, and this actually can break apart. So I'm going to pull this down, and you can kind of see how it's removing those lighter halos. Actually, probably right down. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Click on this one, break it apart, and that will remove the darker halos. So you can see that darker spots just sort of disappearing there. So notice the skin's looking a lot smoother. It's not perfect yet, but we've got a pretty good look. Okay, so compared to what was to that, and now it's sort of the still softness. What we want to do next is we're going to add a layer mask and then be able to sort of, paint in the areas that we want to have smooth there. So I'm going to take the layer mask, add that, split that just to remove this. So Control Backspace will fill that with black. So now it's all been disappeared. Okay, and we're going to take my soft brush, make sure that's on white, and then just paint that in where I've smoothed it out. Now, it's giving a bit of a different color. I have to be a little careful with that. I think I got a soft edge on that. Oh, hardness. Let me make sure that's a soft edge. That will actually make it look better. And so, I'm just sort of going in and painting. Now, I'm not seeing as much of an effect along the head as I'd like, but it does look better here. So I'm just sort of painting back in. And in the end, it will look sort of like a mask of him. So let's just take a look at it. Ooh, he looks scary there. Let's just take a look. So before and after. So it definitely has smoothed things out. It's removed those highlights as well. So those hot spots on his face, for better or for worse. And then you can, I mean, your opacity, I guess I already set it to 93%, but I could sort of lower that opacity to see what it looks like. So again, just a different little technique. I think it isn't as pronounced as we might like. It's not smooth, but compared to the original, oops, Alt. So that was the original there, and then my modified version. Okay, I mean, if I wanted to, I could work on the eyes on this one as well, and also on the teeth, although those are pretty good. But yeah, so depending on what you think, I mean, that does make it a little bit faker, I think, in terms of look, but if it was sort of zoomed out a little bit, I wasn't looking so closely, that's definitely an improvement over that, in my opinion. Alright, so try to find an image where you can kind of improve it, and if you want to use those techniques, feel free. Feel free to do it on yourself, too.